Okay, hopefully the audio is better than the last time I went live. I believe it will be. So fingers crossed. And yeah, there's been a lot of speculation lately about another federal election coming up here in Canada. So I just wanted to get some thoughts on that of anyone in the comments, and of course, my own opinion as well. Thank you for taking your time out of watching the Olympics to spend some time with me. I do have my one of my Vancouver 2010 Olympic sweatshirts on, just as I guess sort of a I don't know reminder, nostalgia, memory of Vancouver 2010. So good times, good times. But yes, I am quite curious about what has been going on this last week or so with the speculation surrounding the possibility of a spring election. Of course, this would be probably quite advantageous to the Liberals to call a spring election. And obviously, if they do, they would be looking for a majority government. So first, I'm going to pull up a article, or actually, I think first I have a post from Globe Politics on X, and is it sharing? Is it sharing? I think it's sharing there now, right? So this was posted on February 9th at 5:14 a.m., which is obviously about 5 days ago from right now. And Carney and Ford, so Dougie Ford, discussed idea of an early federal election to secure majority, sources say. And of course, the replies are always entertaining. Shark of Bay Street. I'm not sure who that is. I don't. Okay, low follower count. That's okay. Just I'm not. Canada voted for a minority, and it will be the same unless some floor crossing happens. Debbie Bloodcott. Do we follow each other? I think. Oh, I thought I followed her. You truly are an incompetent traitor to Ontario Conservatives. Obviously, talking about Ford. Sue Mack. I think we might follow each other. No, I thought we did. Just so we're clear, Pierre ended the careers of Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh. If you think he's finished, you have grossly misjudged him. Okay, so um, progressive conservative equals liberal. Ford Nation is a traitor. Alberta independence is the only solution to the uniparty centralized power in Ottawa. So yeah, that's I guess just where we're starting today, and some of the initial reaction from some of the the people there on X, which, like I said, honestly, I think I'll go down and let's read a couple more of the replies just to see get some of the Joshua Johnston. Never heard of this person before. Carnage Carnage said he wasn't during his grocery store conference where he announced flushing billions of tax dollars down the drain. I predicted he was effing lying, and he was. Aged Metalhead 68. Never heard of this person before either. Of course they did. Ford is a conniving, liberal-leaning turd who wants to be PM. He and his team kneecapped Polyev in the federal election, but that didn't get them there. Ontario needs someone to replace this joker, but the other parties offer nothing to replace him. And then, of course, the conspiracy theories of the Canadian government is compromised. The question is how much Michael Ma, Xi Jinping, and Mark Carney, the Manchurian candidate. Okay. All right. So that's sort of, I guess, the beginning point of where I wanted to what I wanted to touch on today in this live stream. So please feel free to jump up in the comments, and I would love to get a chat going. There is a couple other articles I wanted to look at, and um, I guess first the response from Carney, which was basically no, we're not thinking of it, and I think that was um, the Toronto Star article, and um, I mean, and again, you can sort of obviously we all have our own opinions of different medias, whether it's the Toronto Star or the Toronto Sun or the Globe and Mail or any other whatever media. So this is an opinion piece, and this was February 9th, so also about 5 days ago. It's getting easier to imagine another federal federal election this spring. Premier Doug Ford and Prime Minister Mark Carney touring the Darlington Energy Complex in Cortes, Ontario. So is Cortes, is that just Cortes Road in Oshawa? Like is okay, by Susan Delacourt, national columnist. Elections like the flu can sneak up on you. They may also be contagious. Not even 1 year since both men won their own elections, Mark Carney reportedly been chatting about another federal election this year. According to the Globe and Mail, citing multiple anonymous sources, the Ontario Premier has told the Prime Minister that he could seize the moment to turn his minority government into a clear majority. That doesn't mean Ford is endorsing the Liberals, one source hastened to say. It's just that Ford, like many Canadians, is looking for stability in uncertain economic times. An Abacus poll earlier this year suggested that if Ford's concerned, the Premier is in sync with a sizable number of Canadians. A full 41% of respondents told Abacus in early January they would support the idea of an early election call if it resulted in a majority government that could provide more political stability in Canada. People are craving certainty, Abacus CEO David Coletta said to me when I asked him about the prospect on Monday. Look what happened in Japan. He's referring to the strong majority given to Prime Minister Sanae Takahashi, Liberal Democratic Party on the weekend, which is seen as a product of voters looking for stability. It was also an early election. Japan went to the polls in late October 2024, just 14 months ago. But Takahashi, the country's, and I'm sorry about if I'm sure I'm butchering that name, his first female prime minister gambled that citizens put the country on stable political footing. Interesting that they're making a comparison to what happened in Japan. I know it said the Liberal Party, but yeah, the Liberal Democratic Party. But it's my understanding that they are. I don't want to call them a far right party, but it's my understanding they are quite right leaning, quite a very right leaning party in Japan. So very interesting that they made that comparison. And then the other thing I did have pulled up was the Globe and Mail that Toronto Star article was referencing. Kind of funny that they just use each other as their sources, but it is what it is, right? I believe it's this one. There we go. Carney Ford discussed idea of an early election to secure majority, sources say. Which is sort of repeating what we've already went through with that's the same picture that was on X. Well, that was from the Globe Politics, so it's I guess their picture. Closing news conference in Ottawa. That's just an old picture or a random picture of them from January. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Ontario Premier Doug Ford have discussed the possibility of an early federal election in casual conversations about the importance of a majority mandate to deal with uncertain economic times, according to three sources. So that's what I'd like to find out. Does it say who these three sources are? The sources said the Progressive Conservative Premier, who has a relationship with the Liberal leader, offered his opinion that the country needs economic stability. One of the sources familiar with the discussion said Mr. Carney that an election is an opportunity to win a clear majority mandate, but the source stressed that Mr. Ford's comment should not be seen as an endorsement of the federal Liberals, who are currently 2 seats shy of a majority. Mr. Carney has previously said publicly that he's not considering a snap election, and his office repeated that assertion on Sunday. We are not going to the polls, as the Prime Minister has clearly said in his media availability. His spokesperson, Audrey Chapeau, told the Globe and Mail, referring to January 26 comments from Mr. Carney, in which he said he was focused on results for Canadians. Mr. Ford's office declined to comment. So yeah, that sort of, I guess, sums it up with the sort of where we're at with what happened over just the last week. But there has been, more and more speculation of the possibility of a spring election happening here in Canada. So let me know in the comments or let me know in the chat what you guys think. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this. And other things that I guess I'm sort of thinking about too is, you know, so we know that Polyev survived his leadership review at the end of January, which honestly I'm questioning how. Like, how did he survive that? When you look at the facts, okay, he lost his own riding last April in the general election. He obviously he went to Battle River, Crowfoot, and won a seat back in Parliament. Okay, that's we're not going to get into whether what everybody the argument there, whether that's right or wrong. I don't really care. It's the way it works. It happens. But okay, so he lost the seat in his own riding. But then since coming back to Parliament, we've had what is it, 2 conservatives cross the floor and a 3rd conservative quit. So I was really questioning him surviving that leadership review when you look at the facts. Loss of his own riding, 2 MPs crossing the floor, and a 3rd one quitting. I just don't get how I don't get where what the Conservative Party is doing or thinking right now. Um, among the Liberals and NDP, Polyev is a very, very hated. He is so extremely hated, and we know why he's hated. It's because the Liberals and have done a fantastic job of promoting Orange Man Bad. Everything that's wrong in Canada is Orange Man Bad's fault, right? We all know that. Orange Man Bad. That's the Liberals won the last election based on Orange Man Bad and painting Polyev in the same brush as Trump. Whether you think Poilievre's like Trump or not, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm sure there are some similarities. There's some vast differences, in my opinion. I think, but it's very funny to me that the Liberals just ran on this Orange Man Bad, and ran away with it. So um, it does make me kind of circling back to the conservative leadership convention, how Polyev maintain his position of leader of the Conservative Party. Now, obviously, conservatives love him, but the problem is he's never going to be elected prime minister simply because the people on the left hate him that much. They absolutely despise him, and again, they despise him because of this whole Orange Man Bad propaganda campaign. Sort of take that take that for what it's worth, take that as you will. I don't know. Now, the other thing that I find funny, not funny, just it is what it is, the NDP too, and that's why in the thumbnail I have that one person just with a question mark over that, because we don't know what's happening with the NDP other than they do have a leadership convention coming up at the end of March. I believe it's March 27th, 28th, and 29th, and I think it's in Winnipeg, if I'm not mistaken. And I have no idea who the NDP is going to put forth as a potential new leader. Is Don Davies going to step up and say, "Hey, now would be a good time"? Um, is Hetty Fry still around out in Vancouver? I'm guessing she's still in that riding. Hetty Fry in is it Vancouver Kingsway that she's been the MP in that riding for what 25, maybe even 30 years. So she might be a candidate as the leader of the NDP. I don't know. I guess we just have to wait for another, what is it, 6 weeks or so, and let that play out, and we'll find out what happens when it happens. And but as of right now, you know, a snap election, a snap spring election would really only benefit the Liberals, which they have the power to do it. Like Carney can go to the governor general at any time and say, "Oh, let's dissolve the government. We'll call a snap election," and he can gun for that. He can gun for that majority. Now, could he just get a majority anyways with another floor crossing? Hard to say. Now, it does look like they've also lost the seat in Quebec from that riding where it was literally won by one vote, and they knew that that there was a mail-in ballot that wasn't counted for the Bloc Québécois. So um, that's going to take away from their potential majority. I think where they won at one point in the last few weeks, they were one seat away from forming a majority, and now they're down to two or three seats away from forming a majority. So do they? Will they even need a a snap election to get that majority that they? I'm sure they desperately would like a majority, right? Like what government doesn't want to form a majority? So I think that's also, you know, I'm sure that's also part of the thinking of the Liberal Party strategists of, okay, here we are, we're very close to a majority anyway. Why go through an election and actually risk? Who knows? Sure, polling is looking great for the Liberals right now, but who knows if an election actually were to happen? I'm sure there would be ridings that would flip back to the Conservatives. Like there were a lot of very close ridings in that last election. So who knows? Who knows? I would love to see some people jump up in the chat and get some bit of a lively discussion going. It's always fun to have on these live streams to have people interacting. So yeah, please jump up in the chat, and we'll see if we can get some discussion going here. What are your thoughts on the possibility of a spring election, on the possibility of more floor crossings for the Liberals to form a majority government? I guess what do you think is going to happen with the NDP leadership convention? There's a lot of questions right now, more questions than answers. There's always the 3 years too, the question of what's going to come out of the White House. It's every day it's something new. It seems like, just a couple days ago, it was like Trump was like, I'm not going to let you the bridge that you paid for in our Michigan. I was like, okay, that's and then it came out right away too. It's like, oh well, the billionaire owner of the other bridge, the Ambassador Bridge, had been in contact with Trump like just earlier that day. It's like, oh man, I did see a clip. I think it was Jordan Klepper on the Daily Show where he was just like, at least with Trump, you don't even have to follow the money to find the corruption. It's just there. He just it's just like the money is like, we're right here. We'll leave a pin for you, like a GPS pin. You don't need to follow the money. We're easy to find. Yeah. So um more things. There were other posts on X too. I'm not sure if I can find them as of right now because I had kind of had some of those pre-prepared to show on the stream. Here's another one, and there's not as many replies, but I'll pull it up here too just to share, and we'll go through a few of those. Again, I would love to have some people jump up in the chat. So, okay, I think this one, yes. So here's another picture of Carney and Doug Ford shaking hands, being all lovey-dovey with each other. And so this is also from Globe Politics, and Carney Ford discussed early elections. So we already know this. This is again from 5 days ago, February 9th. And this was 12 hours later in the day at 5:23 p.m. I'm assuming this is in Eastern time. Okay, Sunoco's. Ford wants Carney to call election, and if Carney wins, it will most likely result in Poilievre being removed as conservative leader, which gives Ford the opportunity he craves and gets rid of politician Carney is the most afraid of. Canada deserves much better than these two leaders. So interesting take there that he thinks Ford wants to get rid of Poilievre. Does he think Poilievre standing in his way to become a leader of the federal Conservative Party? And I don't think Ford's French is good enough for the federal Conservative Party. I think he needs to probably stay in his own lane in Ontario. Let's see what the reply is to this. Spread the word to everyone you can. Talk to absolutely everybody. Share your information and insights. This is up to us. It cannot be done without us. Okay. Not sure what that is supposed to mean. Kelzilla. Kelzilla. This is an absolute political Machiavelli scheme. Machiavelli scheme. I should know how to pronounce that. People are not ready for this mind F. SG. 21 followers. I'm all in for spring election. A strong mandate is needed to reshape our economy significantly away from the chaotic administration south of the border and establish new trading partnerships with all that are awakened. Yeah. I'm just going to keep reading a few more. And again, guys, unfortunately, I can't do these live streams talking to myself for hours on end. I do need some people to jump up in the chat and have some interaction with me. That is the best part of doing live streams. Okay, another response from Chris. 7 followers. Ontario needs a new party. Ford is just another liberal shyster conspiring with Carney to destroy Canada while their bank accounts overflow. Lorraine Cook, 1,169 followers. When did Ford Nation cross the floor to the Liberals? Ford Nation, Canadians don't want another Fed election. Consequences might be dire for the Liberal Party. So D. Kelly, consequences might be dire for the Liberal Party. You know, like I said, there is that possibility where they end up losing seats. Like, is the polling wrong? Could they end up losing seats? I think it's really tough to say. State of opportunity, which I think we've seen from this poster before. Let's work to ensure neither of these clowns are reelected. Ford is a fake conservative. He is a true liberal. He is a true liberal. Anything to stay in. I think it means say anything to stay in power. And then Mark Allen just, that's one of the best. Just hand on face emoji, man face palming. Facepalm 1,415 followers. Last chance to save Canada by getting rid of Carney. Mike Keel. All right. Fat Justin and Conman Carney discuss how to F Canada harder. Fat Nation. Okay. This PDF file, Pierre Lemega Poilievre endorsed for U.S. president. All right. When will we write a better system? 271 followers. Okay, this is the bridge thing. Canada's building a massive bridge. We built a massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan. I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them. Yeah, that's just more of that insanity coming out of the U.S. that we seem to be getting more and more used to all day. That one I do find sort of mind-boggling, right? The bridge thing. I don't understand what was thinking. Well, I do like I said, I get it. It was billionaire guy, sort of, who I believe is a donor, right? Like donor to the Trump administration campaign, whatever. So he's obviously gonna lose money. The Ambassador Bridge is nearly 100 years old. It's from some of the other posts I saw today is like in disrepair, where it's not uncommon to see chunks of concrete just falling off the bridge into the river. Well, like that doesn't make you feel safe, does it? You're up on a bridge over over a rather large body of water, and you see the bridge literally falling apart. And then you look over and hey, look, there's a brand new bridge just built. Everything is like up to spec, up to 2026 standards. Like everything is perfect. Why can't we just use that bridge? All right, sorry, I'm getting off on a little bit of a side tangent about the bridge situation in Windsor, Detroit area. But bringing it back to today's topic at hand, the possibility of a spring election here in Canada. Sure, anything's possible. We know the way the system works here. Parliamentary democracy. A snap election can be called at pretty much any time. Anytime there, you know, there's that possibility that the prime minister goes to the governor general and says, "Okay, let's end parliament and let's dissolve parliament." I guess is the more proper terminology. And once parliament is dissolved, well then, what is it? 6 weeks and you have an election. So, um, do we want that? Probably not right now. Um, would it ensure that the Liberals get a majority? Probably. Is that a good thing for the country? Maybe, maybe not. Who am I to say? I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are in the if anybody wants to jump up in the chat. Here I am just begging for one person to say something in the chat. Somebody please say something. Let me see what else I can find here regarding this, the possibility of an election happening this spring. So, um, not really sure. Okay, I think might actually have to search for something here. Canadian or Mexican vibe right now. Sorry, guys. I'm just looking for something to bring up on the screen while I'm waiting for somebody to feel free to join the chat, get the chat going. The live streams are so much better when they are interactive and people discuss the topic of the day with me. Let me know their thoughts on whether they think it's a good idea for a spring election or not. Whether you think it's beneficial to Canada. I'm sure it would be beneficial to the Liberal Party. I think. Now, do I think that's a good idea or is that good for Canada? I honestly, I probably not. I mean, overall, I'm not a huge supporter of the Liberal Party. I tend to vote conservative or more conservative than liberal. Um, but with that said, Carney has really brought the Liberal Party back closer to center, just sort of left of center. JT taken the Liberal Party so far to the left that it was they were so far left. I think they were further left than the NDP by the time Trudeau was done with it, and Carney stepped in and in one fell swoop brings them back to just left of center. And some on the left would even argue that Carney has gone to the right of center, which I think overall is kind of where the majority of Canadians want to be. We don't want to be left wing nut jobs, and we don't want to be right wing nut jobs. We want to be somewhere close to center of the political spectrum where you have, and I've said this before in the past. It was like all the political parties have good ideas. Why can't we just take the good ideas from each party and do that, right? Like, why do we have to do the bad ideas as well? Why can't we just do the good? Just take all the good ideas and do that, and the bad ideas just leave them behind. Forget about those ideas. I know it's radical thinking, right? Seems so simple, but apparently it's not. Unfortunately, it isn't. I don't know what else to look at, guys. You can follow me on X. I know I bring up a lot of X. That is my X handle there in the corner. If you don't follow me already, at Lovey1973. Lovey was my high school nickname. Love is my real last name, so that's where the nickname comes from. So yeah, feel free to follow me there. Send me a DM. I'm still fairly active on X, not as active as I have been in the past, but I think like all social medias, it comes and goes to what platforms you're on more often than not. So Canada, Oh yeah, the whole Alberta separation thing as well. Politico. Is this the Politico? Canada's unnecessary, pivotal, selfish, historic federal election is on. Oh, that's from that post is from 5 years ago. Um, all right, let's take a look at this. Why not? I'll bring this up on share screen. Just give me a second, guys. Politico Canada. This is completely off topic, but I'm okay with that right now. So, from February 13th, that's yesterday, the head of Canada's Navy wants to blow more things up. Okay. Yet he couldn't tolerate an old Navy song and had to change it. Okay. I obviously missed the story here. Don't know what that means. He wants to blow things up. Um, Fresh off a visit to the White House, Conservative MP Jamal Giovanni is positioning himself as a key player in Canada US relations. This is the beginning of something, not a one off interview. I asked, does he have bigger political ambitions? Okay, yeah, so that was actually my last live stream talking about Jamal Giovanni. If you haven't seen it, you can go back and definitely watch that as well. Um, Phone a friend. While in DC, Giovanni lunched in the West Wing with the Vice President and Second Lady, USHA Vance. HA. On the menu, Giovanni chose a beef dish. The Vice President opted for chicken fingers. Okay. House tour. Vance found the White House, which Giovanni called a very shiny place. They ran into President Donald Trump, who was working away in a room just off the Oval Office. I told him a bit about myself, and he shared some of his views on Canada, and he told me to tell the Canadians that I love them, Giovanni said. Also on the schedule, Giovanni met with the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer, as well as senators from Montana, Ohio, and Wisconsin. He also met with GM officials and National Association of Manufacturers and the American Automotive Policy Council. So I think that's another interesting. Here's Jamal Giovanni too. Speaking of a spring election, and speaking of Polyev not being able to win, in my opinion, Polyev simply not able to win an election because he is so hated, for lack of a better word. He is just so hated by every liberal and NDP voter out there. Does Is Jamal Giovanni positioning himself as the you know conservative party leader in waiting? I think maybe, he's definitely in these last 2 weeks, he's made a name for himself. He's suddenly now, 2, 3 weeks ago, none of us knew the guy's name, and now we all know his name, and we know what he looks like. Don't want to say he's a household face, but or a household name, but I think the majority of people in Canada who follow politics now know who Jamal Giovanni is, and what he stands for, and what his ideas are of just getting things done as far as it comes to a trade deal with the U.S. So I think that's very interesting as well. Obviously, not for a spring election, but possibly for another election further down the line. And we did see that too. Where was that earlier? We were looking when it was basically someone said that, when I'm saying when Polyev loses the next election, he will be done as the Conservative Party leader. In my opinion, he probably should be done now. And I like the guy. I like Polyev, but I just can't see, there's no possible way he can win an election. Um, so at that point, it's kind of like you got to fish or cut bait, right? So is Jamal Giovanni the person that the Conservatives turn to next? Is he going to throw his hat in the ring, so to speak? I can't see why he wouldn't at this point. Now, odds are good you're going to have the quite a few of the same old conservatives that come around every few years to that are gunning for that leadership. I'm thinking of Leslyn Lewis. She still has ambitions, I believe, to be the party leader and the Prime Minister of Canada. But I have the same fear for her that she is would be absolutely hated, again, for lack of a better term, by the leftist voters in this country, by the Liberal and NDP voters in this country. So, and it's possible that Jamal Giovanni might be hated by them as well. And I guess so many of them would just probably hate anything that's from the conservative side of the spectrum. So, uh, games abroad, good grief at home, grief at home. Oh, that's that Norwegian. Is that Norwegian guy that like won a medal then on international television admitted to cheating on his girlfriend or something? Um, Trump nominates White House lawyer to trade court that could decide details of any tariff refund. So yeah, there's actually more news that's come out of the U.S. just in the last day or two. It does look like a lot of this. Was it the Supreme Court or something? I kind of glazed over the headline yesterday that I believe was the Supreme Court said, these tariffs on Canada are basically illegal, and so they're I think that means they're gonna end. I honestly, I don't know. Like I said, I just kinda glazed over the headlines without reading any of the articles more in depth. Um, I'm honestly, I have tariff fatigue. I think, even just 1 year in, a lot of us have Donald Trump fatigue. We already going, "Okay, only 3 more years. Only 3 more years." And this coming from I understand why Americans elected Donald Trump. When you look at the choices they had to make, and it was, you know, I can see how the majority of Americans did not want to have either Joe Biden reelected or Kamala Harris. So, um, I understand why Trump got elected or how he got elected, but there's just been a lot. There's been a lot in just 1 year, just over a year and a few weeks, right? Um, Canada has a muscular new anti-Trump strategy that debuted in Greenland. Our at M. Blanchfield reports from Nuuk, Greenland, on how the icy town of 20,000 became a testing ground for the icebreaker or something. Yeah, this was at House. Okay, it wasn't the Supreme Court; it was the House. House votes to disapprove of Trump's Canada tariffs. Okay, so the House voted on that, and uh, so we're going back over a week now. And the news cycle, 10 days ago, it seems like it was all about Greenland, and now Greenland is barely getting any press coverage at all these days. So, yeah, that's where we're at with a lot of this these days, right? Stop sharing that and come back here. Okay, guys. Well, I do appreciate everyone who has taken time out of their busy Olympics viewing schedule. If you weren't here at the start, I did show that I am wearing one of my Vancouver 2010 sweaters. So I do appreciate you taking some time out of your Olympic viewing schedule to spend some time with me this afternoon while I ramble on about the potential of a spring election. Honestly, we don't think it's going to happen. It probably won't happen, but there is always that possibility of it happening. So I guess we'll just wait and see. Obviously, if it does happen, I will be live streaming a fair bit more. I do want to live stream more on this channel anyway. Uh, I was looking at the RPM, and it's funny because like in December, the RPM is through the roof. Like your revenue per M per thousand views, your revenue is through the roof in December. Like I think some of those live streams were like $16 per like RPM, and now it's like I think $1.60. It just drops off drastically in January and February. So yeah, advertisers obviously on YouTube just pay a lot more in December. Well, November and December. So so yeah, I'm not making any money doing this. So don't think I'm doing. I mean, obviously I'll make a few pennies here and there, but Um, I'm just doing this because I like doing it. It's fun. It is a lot more fun when people jump up in the chat. Like I've said many times in this live stream, it's so much more fun when there are people chatting and there's interaction. Unfortunately, we have not had any interaction today, so that does make it very, very difficult on my end to keep the live stream going. So, with that said, we will end the live stream here, but I do appreciate you all for joining me today. Thank you all so much for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Please hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.